Hello, I'm Karen Jenkins, and welcome to this episode of the Synergy Leadership Podcast. I am so excited to have someone that has a breadth of knowledge and experience and exudes servant leadership. I've known Amelia for years, and I've watched her up close, personal, and from afar, and have always been just really enthused with her motivation, her tenacity, and her dedication to our community. Amelia, just I've always admired her. In her previous world, she's a former school board trustee, a state school board association board member, a state school improvement council board member, and she served on several civic boards in education and community advocacy. Amelia, would you mind sharing your background with our audience?
Oh, happy to. And it's a pleasure to be here, Karen. I think the world of you as a leader and just as a human being. So it's good to be here. I am a native of Aiken, South Carolina, the only child of George and Rose. Went to USC in 1986 and settled down here, established roots, and I have been here ever since. A little bit about my, career. I've been in business support, business administration, franchise ownership, entrepreneurship, communications, government relations, business administration, management. And before I served in an official elected public service capacity, I served at local school levels of school improvement council, state boards, numerous organizations that always were designed to help people and to provide some level of support to people in whatever they need, whether it's educational advocacy or whatever advocacy they needed. And ultimately, I entered into public service, serving at the local school board level for 8 years and as vice chair, secretary in the State Board Association. So yeah, I've done a whole lot in the education world and community and church and all, just giving in a giving capacity.
You definitely have been a giving, and I shared with a couple of people when I first started, or recently when we recently reconnected, and I shared with them that I was just in awe of you and the level of tenacity that you display on the volunteer level. I have watched you from afar, as I said, but your level of commitment to providing servant leadership is the same level of commitment that I see with people that are actually getting paid to do things. So from afar and up close, I was very impressed with your level of professionalism and dedication to just being there for our community. You've always been a huge proponent of advocacy in education, community initiatives, and the power of positive energy. Can you expound upon how you harness this concept in leading others and providing service to our community?
I appreciate that, Karen, the kind sentiments. Thank you. And I feel the same way about you, particularly in the business world. You are an icon in that world. With regard to harnessing that for leadership, there's no magic bullet. There's no recipe. I'm not perfect. Nobody is, but I try to be what I say I believe in. I like to encourage people. I try to be positive. I try to be supportive. Try to build consensus. And in the absolute worst case scenario, I believe if you cannot uplift somebody or you cannot support somebody or you cannot engage or educate them, then just do no harm. I believe that in this world, not all spirits are put here to agree. Not all spirits are going to agree. And so if it is absolutely impossible to build consensus, then just do no harm. And then you will have succeeded at not tearing down people and ultimately not tearing down an organization by default. I believe communication is huge. I'm real big on communication, and not just the technical aspects of making sure your subject and verb agree, but the way you communicate with people. There is a way to interface with people and to communicate with people that that is engaging or disarms people. You can say two different things to people in two different ways and get two very different responses. So I believe in the power of positive communication, effective communication. Where you put a comma in a sentence makes a difference. The way that your inflection and your tone as you're talking to people also makes a difference. Civility. There is civility and communication are interrelated. And that is one of the things that I can remember on one of the instances when I was running for a school board. There was a group of naysayers. And you always have people who supported and the naysayers who were like rating the different board members. And one of the things they said to me as a negative was that, she's this one, they couldn't think of anything else to say that they said that, she's a consensus builder. So, and I'm thinking that's not really a negative. That's a good thing. If you're trying to get people to agree to a common cause, you'll never agree on the methodology necessarily. But if you can get people to kind of agree on a common cause or at least understand where people are coming from, then that's a huge effort toward consensus building. That's a very good thing. We had a bond referendum, in the school district, the largest ever that we know of in the state, South Carolina. We had to build a whole lot of consensus around schools and what they needed and what teachers needed. And if we had all been adversarial and all rooted and grounded in what we believed in only, then that wouldn't have happened. So I believe in communication and civility are interrelated a lot.
I definitely agree with that. One of my mantras, and I found that it's one of yours as well, is that as we go out and we provide service to our community, as we go out to help others, that we always want to leave people in a better situation than where we found them. And I've watched you do that. I've watched you be that helping hand. I've watched you, people call you when they need things, right? So when we live in a world of people that think there's a zero-sum game, that if I'm winning, you're losing, and if you're losing, I'm winning, which we know for a fact is not the case. But how do you continue to be uplifted and pour into others and a community, and live out loud that mantra of leaving people in a better situation, or at least in a better energy feeling than where you found them?
That is that's a loaded question, Karen, in a good way. And you and I do agree in that. I think there are things fundamentally that you have to think about. What is your core belief system? And part of my core beliefs is trying to either help folks. It sounds so cliche, helping people, but I genuinely love people. I genuinely like people. I genuinely want to be a resource and a help if I can. I remember when I was at I think it's my children's high school, and I was serving as school board chair, and someone was coming to me to report something that was wrong or to get something fixed. And I was like, yeah, I have an answer, but hey, in the future, here is what you can do to make sure you know how to get that rectified. This is the policy, this is the procedure, and you do this next time. And people started kind of sharing the policies and procedures instead of just coming to me for the answers, because it sounds cliche again, but I don't want to give somebody fish. I want to teach them how to fish.
Yes.
What prepared me for all of those hats, Karen, and you can relate because you are a phenomenal parent and just a superhero mom and person, is parenthood. Through parenthood, I learned about sacrifice. I learned
Yes.
about giving. I learned about, my 2 children who are now adults. There are so many boxes to check as parents. You're a financial planner, your hairstylist, you're a taxi driver, Uber, there are so many things you do to build your kids. You're supporting them. You are loving, you are nurturing, you are conducting research, you're disciplining when have to. You're understanding, you're a problem solver, and you're trying to build consensus every now and then when you need to. And I think that your core beliefs determine how you're going to act when it gets hard. It doesn't matter how things are when everything's warm and fuzzy. It matters how you're going to react when things get tough and when things get hard. What do you resort to? Who are you in that moment? We're all nice and warm and fuzzy when things are going good, but who are you when it gets tough? It sounds cliche again, but my mom is my role model. One of the things that she's taught school for 56 years. She just finished retired this summer. Yay, my mom. She was a Sunday school teacher, Girl Scout troop leader, just a community advocate. And one of the things that she always said is, it doesn't matter how smart you are, it's how are you smart? And she was really good at trying to bring out the best in people and maximize their strengths. And I remember going to Sunday school and, instead of just getting the word of God, I remember helping my peers who were weak in some areas in which I was strong, helping them with homework, helping them read, people who needed clothes, knowing who I would give them to, not just the Goodwill, And by that same token, I had a community that poured into me and strengthened me in areas that I was weak. So that's a part of my core values. DEI, it's a buzzword now, diversity, equity, inclusion. It was something that I caught, not the textbook definition of it, but just making sure people are okay. When you're advocating for one group of people and making sure they have what they need, you have to make sure that by unintended consequences, you're not harming someone else. Right. You're not taking away from someone else, making sure that as you have an eye for this group of making sure you've got what you need, that you're not adversely affecting somebody else. So for me, what I grew up with and with an equity eye was not DEI per se. It was just making sure people were okay, making sure that everyone's okay. And if they're not, like, hey, I didn't mean, to run over your foot by making sure someone else's foot didn't get run over. So let me help you here. Let me try to take care of you here. So a whole lot of it's just your core values and just being what you believe in. But my mom and she was tough. She was a tough cookie. But I thank God for her toughness and all that she poured into me, because it made me more sympathetic and more empathetic to other people.
And she made you who you are today. So that was a blessing. I want to thank her for that. So, one of the things that, or should I say our mantra, is helping people, adding value and making a difference. And you have done that all the time that I have seen you. And I think a lot of that came from your relationship with your mom and just really the background that you've had. So let's turn over and talk a little bit about synergy leadership. By definition, we know that synergy leadership is the ability to leverage a team's energy to create results, adapt to change, and make a difference. So what is your perspective on this, and how have you seen it work within your network, within your organization, or just within some of the things that you've been doing in our community?
I'll use you as an example, Karen. Before you can ever give anyone your mission statement, your mantra, your belief statement, people have to believe in who you are and see that you are authentic in what you say that you're doing. Here at KRJ Consulting, you preach these words, Karen, but that is who you are. And so you inspire people because you are authentic to, not perfect, because nobody is, but you are authentic to who you are. So I think that, in my community relations, leading different civic organizations and being a part of them, I am authentic to what I believe in. I'm not a part of a group if I don't believe in it. Just because someone asked me to serve on a board or something, I don't accept every invitation I'm giving. It has to be something that I believe in my core, in my heart of hearts. Heart leadership is the most effective leadership. If people can see where your heart lies, if people can see that you believe in what you're telling other people, then you're going to be able to get people on board. They're going to want to subscribe to the mantra that you're trying to exude, even if it's just wanting to be in your energy, even if it's just wanting to be a part of that positive energy. Gosh, I like being around Karen. She's always so positive. And, I have people in my core group of friends, my network, and I was telling one of them recently that I appreciate being in your presence and your leadership because I feel better. When I've left your presence, I'm a better person. When I've left your presence, I'm always walking away with something. And so I want to be that person when people are in my presence. And every day is not a good day. But if I do no harm, then that's a good day for me. But if I be what I want, if I want someone to be encouraging to me or be understanding, or someone that I'm leading, I want to, to take the time to be patient with them. And because I've been on the receiving end of people who've not been so patient and not been so kind, and I remember that. And instead of being bitter about that, it just makes me remember, hey, I want to make sure that I don't treat people like this. I want to make sure that I am a leader who is understanding and who is helpful and who makes people feel better by being around me. And on a bad day, just doing no harm.
Right, right. That is so awesome. And you do. I can
I appreciate that.
co-sign on that all day long because I've watched you and seen the impact that you've had on our community. So
I
we've talked
appreciate
about
that.
synergy leadership, we've talked about advocacy, we talked about servant leadership. When you look back at your journey, when you look back at your experiences, share with us the experience on your leadership journey that you're most proud of.
Um, I'll give you my personal answer, then I'll give you, a politically correct answer, I guess. Personally, um, raising my children.
I
When
knew
you
the
are,
answer
when you
before
are, oh, Karen, you know me. When you are tasked with the responsibility of creating a decent human being, or at least trying to influence them, we have one shot to raise our children, one shot. Now we'll be a consultant in their lives forever, but we have one shot to be the most influential person in their lives. And I wanted to raise good, decent people. And it doesn't matter what their titles are. I'm proud, I'm very proud of my children. But it doesn't matter what their titles are or their station in life. I wanted them to be good people. I wanted them to be sympathetic to others and empathetic to others. And they'll only get that if they caught that through me, if they see me being that way through others. But raising my children and trying to raise positively contributing members of society. And the worst case scenario, if I failed miserably, if I had kids that did no harm, then I count it all joy. But I'm proud of my children because they're decent people. So that is the most important leadership component that I have ever had to delve into. Other than that, I can talk about school board and, community and church, teach that. Those are all wonderful things. But I believe that compassion, all those things they start at home. And so I ask people now, during the height of COVID, I used to ask people, how are you doing in your school or how in your community? When you see people, when we got to go outside again, and I
right.
see people and I'm like, how are you doing? They're like, oh, we're okay. Our organization is doing this way. Or, we haven't gone face to face yet, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I was like, I don't know, how are you doing? How is your family? How are your children? How are your significant others? How are your loved ones? Because you got to be okay with the people. You need to take care of home first, you know? And if home is okay, then everything else is relative. So if I'm out here advocating for people in the community and my home is, busted, and I'm not, being very kind to the people in my own home and all, then what is it all worth? So the biggest leadership role that I've held is parenting. And I take that role very seriously.
Yes, so I agree, and I can
Uh,
tell you did a great job
oh,
in that leadership role, as you see in the fruits of your labor, and
I
your two
appreciate that.
very successful and positively contributing young adults that you
I
produce.
appreciate that.
One thing you shared about asking the question, "How are you feeling?" Sometimes we get to the point where just it's kind of casual, and you just kind of say it and you're not really anticipating that somebody's going to respond. And I know that when you ask that question and it comes across to people as well, it's very important that when you ask that question, you are genuinely interested in the response. And for you to lean in and say, no, I really want to know how you're doing. You don't know how many people you have positively impacted. That one person that was having that bad day, that one person that was not in good spirits or wasn't carrying good energy that day, to have someone just ask a simple question, how are you doing, makes a difference. And I challenge our audience to be that person that you're so present, that you are observing the people around you and helping them in their challenging times. We don't have to take on somebody else's problems, but we can help them uplift their energy. We can help them kind of think about life from a different perspective, because when people know how much you care, right? They don't care about how much you know. They care about how much you care. And that makes a difference. So I applaud you in being that person. I applaud you for being that person in our community that genuinely exudes servant leadership and care and concern for all. That is just one of your mantras, and I've watched it and admired it for a while.
I,
As we go ahead.
may I interrupt you for a second? Or let me say something to that.
This is
Thank you.
good.
First of all, thank you. I appreciate it. That means a lot. And it takes one to know one, Karen. But let me just interject to people. I believe that I'm an empathetic person. I'm a very, I'm mindful of people and their spirits and their energy. And I'm mindful of the energy that I bring into the room. Karen Jenkins says that. Um, I want to encourage people to be authentic to what you are feeling. If you have someone on your mind, shoot them an email. I like to do handwritten notes and things like that, but as we get busy, you don't always have time. If you've had a positive interaction with someone, tell them that. If someone has helped you or blessed you or shared information with you, tell even if it's a text. Not everyone's, hey, if it's a text message or a handwritten note or an email. Karen, you and I went to a function last week, and there was a very kind person there who made sure we had a place to sit. And I just like what she stood for. We'll never use her services. We don't need her services. But I took the time to send her an email thanking her for the engagement that she had with us that day. And the response she wrote back was that you made my day. It wasn't anything that amazing to me, but she was very helpful to us that day. And just taking the time to tell her, you just never know what a kind word will do for someone, or an acknowledgement,
Yeah.
Thank you. Just thank you for what you did. That was a big deal. Thank you. Thank you. Just
Right.
if you've got people on your heart or you're thinking of something, say it. It's never trite. It's never small. It's always big when you take the time to thank someone or acknowledge something they did, or just thank him for helping you, or just thank him for being. I love working here. This is an amazing environment. You are an amazing leader, and I try to tell you as often as I can, I appreciate what you do. I appreciate, just because nobody has to do. Oh, that's one of my mom's mantras. Nobody has to do anything for you. And that's tasked as parents. We are tasked to raise our kids. We might go to jail, for neglect and stuff. But nobody has to do anything for you. Nobody has to be kind. Nobody has to be gracious. Nobody has to be helpful. So when people take the time to do any kind of nicety or courtesy for you, it is incumbent upon you to be appreciative. It is a requirement that we be appreciative.
Thank you. I appreciate your kind words. Of course, our audience sees here we have a little love fest going on, but it is authentic.
It is the truth.
And I am one of those people that I thrive on energy. As Amelia said, I believe that you're responsible for the energy that you bring into the room. I'm very protective of my energy. I'm very protective of my surroundings to make sure that I'm trying to stay in a positive state. And if it's one of those struggle days, or when you struggle bus, then it might be a neutral state. But I'm trying to make sure that I'm very aware of the energy that I'm bringing into the room, because energy is infectious.
It is infectious. I was going to say that it is infectious. And if it's nothing more than articulating, I am quick to tell people, hey, this is not a great day for me, but I did wake up and I am getting started. Give me about an hour or so, it might get better, but I will tell people, like, how are you doing today? How are you? What, not good, not good, but it's going to be good. Are you okay? Nope, not today, not right now. I'm not, but I'm going to be. It's okay. Thank you for answering. I feel like I got a little something I'm going through right now. I'm feeling a little way. And I try to articulate that. If it's a safe, that's a safe space to do that. You can't go everywhere telling people, hey, I'm having a bad day. You can't tell everybody that. Just a simple being self-aware enough to articulate that, are you okay? No, I'm not, but I'm going to be, and I'm working through so and so and so. And that also encourages people to have to let them know that it's okay to communicate that, because especially as women, we are, supposed to be super women and, band-aid people, whatever, but it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to articulate that. I know you're kind of quiet today. Are you okay? No, I'm not, but I will be. Thank you for acknowledging that. I'm not right now, but I appreciate you acknowledging that. It's okay
And mental health, we don't talk a lot about mental health. Mental health is important. And back to a simple acknowledgement of someone. You can have somebody that's in a not good state, right? You can have somebody that they're having some challenges today. They're feeling kind of low. And the fact that you asked about them, the fact that you said something positive to them can shift their energy and shift their thought and help them get back on the right track. We want to make sure that when we're looking at our overall, synergy, leadership, and energy is all about leveraging your energy and the energy of others, but doing it in a positive way. And then everybody doesn't wake up on the right side of the bed every morning, but being conscious of that is the biggest part of it. Sometimes people act and react in a way that is not really their normal selves, but it's probably because something happened, a couple of things happened. They're kind of in that subconscious mind and they're thinking all these negative thoughts. And when you encounter them, right, you're encountering them, but it's not them. It's that negative energy that hits you first because they're going through some things. Well, let's not take that personally. Let's figure out how can we embrace, engage, and lift them up. A smile, a hello, how you doing? Leaning in and are you okay? I just want to make sure that you're okay. Those simple things can make the world of difference for people in your community, for people that you come in contact with. And one of the things I used to like to do, I spent a lot of time at my kids' high school, and I spend a lot of time with my kids. I used to like to catch kids doing something right. Just catching them doing something right and acknowledging that rightness lifted their day and gave them a sense of pride. And we can do that for our coworkers. We can do that for the people in our community. Let's, instead of always clamoring on the negativity and what somebody did wrong and why don't we compliment somebody on something that they did right? Let's leverage this energy so that, I want our communities, I want our office, I want, the community in which we live. I want us to have the best place to work, live, and play. And how do we do that? We all come together and acknowledge that we're in this thing together, and my energy can negatively impact yours and yours can negatively impact mine. But on the flip side of that, it can also positively impact you. And we want to make sure that we're going down that path and not the other.
And you're teaching people, Karen, people operate within the tools they have in their toolbox. If you happen to come from an environment or have the experiences rather of people who are uplifting you, and I don't mean to be warm and fuzzy, walk around. No, I don't mean like that, but just what you're saying. You catch someone doing something good, you catch someone in a positive, and you acknowledge that. And that person is like, well, shucks, I hadn't thought of saying something as simple as, gosh, you look good. You look good today. I love that. You look good. That looks good on you. So and so and so and so and so. I'm like, okay, it's okay just to think something that God, like she's put together well today, or I love her energy. And you can say it. You don't have to just think it. You can actually say that. So you're teaching people too that it's okay to give random acts of compliments or positive affirmation, or you're teaching people because sometimes folks are guilty of just, not having experienced that kind of energy, and it's okay. So your energy that you bring to them can make the difference between pushing them over the edge, or reeling them back into a better day, or the very, very worst, doing them no harm.
Definitely. Thank you for that. So, as we come to the conclusion of our conversation today, and I hope you'll be willing to come back and talk to us some more, if you had to give any one piece of advice to our listeners around leadership, around energy, just around life in general, what would you want to share with our audience?
Oh, I love it. Couple of things. It's not just one. Number one is we've talked about being positive. We've talked about, the energy that you bring into a room is infectious. You can either, tear it all up, and make it worse, or you can, at least, you can remove, lift the haze a little bit. And so, we've talked about energy, so I don't want to beat a dead horse with that. But let me talk about the importance of tenacity and just not giving up. We talk about positive energy and, things to do to make people feel good. But sometimes the very best you can do is not to give up. The very best you can do is to keep going, because you'd just be surprised at the people who are watching you that you're not aware. People are watching you more on your bad days than your good ones. People are looking to see, what you're doing on your bad days. But I would encourage people to not give up. If you're in a great space, great, don't give up. If you're in a rough space, don't give up. If you're kind of in I don't know, I'm trying to get it together, don't give up. whatever you're doing, keep going, because once you stop, that's when, if that's when you got to have, you could have the potential of sinking or drowning. If you're swimming, you keep going, right? Or you're treading water, but this tenacity and telling people to keep going wherever you are. Don't give up, because giving up is an option. Sometimes giving up is a choice that you make. So one of my encouragers to tell me, just don't give up. When days are tough, just keep going. Just keep going. And if they're not tough, if they're good, then just keep going as well. Tenacity is so much, just the strength that it takes to not give up is huge. That is a huge muscle, and it is understated. It is underrated. The muscle to not give up and to keep going is huge.
Thank you so much for that, Amelia. And thank you for taking time out of your schedule to spend this time with us today. I thoroughly enjoyed our
My
session today.
pleasure.
You'd be willing to come back. And to our listeners, thank you so much for coming and participating with us on the Synergy Leadership Podcast. If you want to get in contact with Amelia, you can go to our website at www.krjconsulting.com, or she's available at McKie, AMCKIE, at krjconsulting.com. And we look forward to having you on our next episode. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.